What's going on, guys? It's your boy Cash, and we are here today to actually go over and review and do an M.F.O on Metroid Dread. Now, Metroid Dread is a game exclusively for the Switch, and I thought that it would be really fun to review it, but this is going to be a unique review because it's the first time. Well, yeah, it's going to be the first time, and something that I want to start doing is that if I can't afford to play the game, or not necessarily can't afford it, but I can't afford to buy every single game that comes out, but I do want to review the games for you guys. So what I did this time is that I actually watched the entire game online on a YouTube channel, which I will link. I watched it on a content creator called Abdallah Smash. I'm about to butcher his name. This is the playthrough that I watched. I want to specifically not only just to shout out who I watch. I think that would be a cool thing, especially if it's someone maybe with less subscribers or something like that. But just going forward, if it's not my own gameplay, I want you guys to see where I got the footage from, and that might give you a reason to why I came up with the assumptions and stuff like that I did. So I will be linking this playlist in the description. So if you guys want to check it out, I think it was fantastic watching it through his eyes, his commentary. And yeah, so without further ado, skidamarinky dinky do, let's get into the review. First thing that I want to mention is that this game is pretty much just like a 2D scroller. Obviously, you guys can see from the trailers and things of that nature, it's like your 2D scrolling. But what I really like is that you do have the aiming, you know. You can like aim and things like that. I think that is pretty cool. I think that is a nice like feature, especially because of Samus, and especially I'm gonna compare Samus to when she's in Smash games as well. And you know, you really can't even actually do that. You can only shoot like this, you know, straight horizontal. You know, you can't like aim around and shoot stuff, but in the game it's actually pretty necessary that you can do that. I find that it was really cool to see, having to aim, take out certain enemies, hit certain body parts, or else you're not doing damage. I think that's really cool. And then I also should mention that this is the first of this Metroid that I played. The only Metroid that I've actually played was the one on the Super Nintendo. I've watched some of the other ones, like I watched my friend play it or something of that nature, so I've never really seen it, the evolution really of Metroid outside of that. So this was my first time seeing this level of Metroid. I think some people said that Metroid Fusion is a very similar game style, not game style, but a very similar gameplay style or something like that. But I actually like that I'm coming in here with fresh eyes, so I'm just judging the game based on what I see and not comparing it to another version of Metroid, which I heard that some other people were. They wanted it to be like something like what they saw on the Super Nintendo, to be like this, you know, weird game. But this game is definitely like, it's a lot of buildings, a lot of stuff you have to go through. And of course, I'm going to go with the pros and the cons of the game. I think that's how I want to do this review, kind of talk about the things that I really like about the game and the things that I don't. I will try to save stuff that is more spoiler-esque for a little bit later in the review, so you guys don't have to worry about me just dropping bombs on you guys and then you don't get to play the game. Now, one thing that I will say is that the game seems relatively short, and I think that is a classic trope within the Metroid series. I think that from what I played on Super Nintendo in comparison to what I've seen in this game, the game is really fast if you know where you're going, and it's still, I would say, about 10, 11, 12-ish hours. The gameplay that I watched was around that time frame. So if you're looking to have some game that you're going to play for, you know, 3-4 days or something like that, or a week long, it's very unlikely that you'll do that unless you are a very slow player. There's also the things that I'll have to mention is that the game is super backtracky. And what I mean by backtracky is that Samus gets a level up, or not a level up, there's no level up in the game. I should make sure there's no leveling up. It's not an RPG, but she discovers something. She gets something from a boss or something, and then all of a sudden she can shoot ice or something like that. Now she has to go back to anything that she well, not she has to, but for certain parts of the game she's gonna have to go back and find something that the ice can now unlock. And I think that happens a lot often, and I want to get the YFOs in the comment section below for that one. Is that, do you guys prefer that? Do you hate backtracking? I know some people really don't like backtracking. It gets annoying because every time you get something, you literally have to go back to another portion of the game that you could not unlock. Now, in order to not have backtracking, what you would do is that when you get a power, it's pretty much going to help you progress forward only. Like, so there's really nothing that you have to go back in the game for. I think a lot of action RPGs are pretty famous for this. Like, you know, if let's say like Devil May Cry, you get a power, there's no door that was like 8 years back that like, oh, sudden now you can punch that door open. They usually don't have that. I think God of War doesn't do that really. It's very technically a more linear game. There's no like going back and forth, and you're pretty much going forward, and half the time you're destroying stuff, so it's like you really can't even go back to where you first started in the beginning of the game. But in these games, in the Samus game, Metroid game, you're exploring the planet, so like certain stuff is designed, it's kind of designed, you might like the design of that you know, there's a certain thing that you really can't get into because you don't have the access to it, aka you don't have the suit to go through the lava, you don't have this to go in the water, you don't have this to jump in water, something like that. So I think that it's really like you're depending on your cup of tea, because some people get really frustrated, some people don't like seeing the same environments over and over and over again, they think it's lazy. So let me know how you guys feel about having the backtrack in the game. The second thing that I wanted to bring up is the M.E system. The M.E system is probably what actually made me hesitant to even buy or think about buying a Metroid game. Now, I didn't like the fact that there is a creature pretty much running around trying to get you, and while it's trying to get you, it literally will one-shot kill you and you have to start over. I find that in most Metroid games that I've seen is that you really don't die too much by the environment. You're usually gonna die in boss fights. Like I think that's what the M.E was really there to do, is kind of like to make you have something that while you're traversing the world that you have some other threat to deal with. Now, my issue is that in the trailers, and I feel like even in the dev thing that I saw, like when they were talking about the game, they made it seem like the M.Es were not killable. They were these things that if you encounter them, if they catch you, you'll die. Now, this is a slight spoiler, but I think that this might help people decide whether or not they want to buy the game or not. So I kind of want to leave this in a non-spoiler section, is that you actually can escape them. And I mean like escape, like when you actually get caught, you can counter it. You can actually break out of their grapple. It is a QTE, a quick time event, so you can get out of them. But and you also do eventually get around to the part where you can take them down. And I do think that that's a little bit different, because technically an M.E is the same system in Resident Evil, some of the older Resident Evils with like Nemesis and Mr. X, where they have this looming threat. You can't take them out, you can stun them, and you know, you eventually take them out like later into the game. And I feel like if that was this, and there's this always this M.E thing that's following you. Now, one thing I want to mention is that they're only into a certain section, right? They have a specific zone that they're hovering over, so you don't have to be like, oh crap, I'm like, they're always following me, which is what I initially thought. And I kind of thought that, you know, if you didn't think that you're a smarter person than me, but I thought that these things were following you forever. Like you had to keep dodging them, you had to like evade them and make sure you didn't make noise in certain things. But no, there are certain zones where they are hovering, and there's a certain amount of them. I'm not going to tell you the number, but like once you get into that routine, it does seem to calm down a little bit. So it's like there is pressure when you're in their zone, and then when you're not in their zone, you kind of just play your own Metroid stuff. And then eventually when you can go find and take them out, you like, okay, where you at? Where you at? I'm coming to get you. Next thing that I wanted to mention was definitely going to be, it's kind of piggybacking off the backtracking, but I wanted to separate it, and that is when you're moving around the map. Now, looking at the map, you can see where you're going, but you can run into a bunch of dead ends. I wanted to play this clip from Abdallah, and I wanted to show you guys like the overall feeling that I feel that you're gonna feel in the game. And it's not that it's technically a bad thing, but I just think it was funny and it was said so well. By the way, just to show like what the map looks like, this is the map, you know, like 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 you could see everything, or where you've been, what unlocks what door. You might not have the power up for it. This is in part 1 as well. So like it's a lot. There's a lot to do.
Okay, so I went over here. I mean, interactive device got used, missile block, I got that. I mean, it looks like this entire area was just a circle, right? I can't go inside the fire area because I don't have the fire suit. I can't go in here because I don't have the invisibility. So it was just like a detour. I don't honestly know what it did. Yeah, so where am I going?
And honestly, I think that that's a pretty good summary of the game. I got this, I went here, but I couldn't go there, so now I gotta go back, and I gotta find another way to, because I can't go that way. And I think that that speaks volumes, because I do think that there's an element of an adventure game where you do want to get lost a little bit. You do want to like actually like go somewhere, there's a dead end, but it feels like there's a lot to the game. And sometimes in a very linear game, you know, there is no like you pretty much don't really reach dead ends that often, and when you do, it's usually because you try to go backwards, and it's like, no, you can't go backwards, and you just keep going forward and everything's fine. But in a game like this where there's a map and it's just like boom, here you go, Now you have to pretty much, you're gonna hit multiple dead ends. You're gonna always go to somewhere and it's gonna be like, well, you don't have the equipment for that. And then you're gonna get something and you're like, okay, you're gonna pop open the map again and you're gonna be like, well, I now have the missiles, or I now have this. Let me go see if I can do this. I now have this. So I think that it's a different cup of tea for certain people. And again, that's why I want to bring that up in this portion of it before we go into any of the spoilers. Now, before I go again into the spoilers, I do want to say that the boss fights are absolutely crispy, baby. The boss fights are really, really cool. And it has one little mechanic in there that I really like. And that is the counter mechanic that they add in this game. And I don't know if it's, like I said, I don't know if it's new to Metroid, but it wasn't in Super Nintendo, I'll tell you that. So in this game, like usually when you counter something, it brings apart like a specific, like a slight cutscene animation. But on boss fights, it definitely brings a little special spice to it. And you get like a really cool thing that I think that, I don't know, I feel like everyone should just try to counter a boss. I'm going to show one instance in the first boss of the game, just so you guys can like see it. Like, check out what this happens in the first boss fight. I'm only going to show this one part when he actually counters. So you see him shooting, right?
Oh my gosh, help!
He gets
help,
apart,
help.
slides, counter, and it's going to trigger this little cutscene.
Let's go, headlock! Destroy him!
Boom, gets caught.
Whoa!
He runs out of missiles here, so he can't do any more damage.
Help? What the heck?
And every boss kind of has like a similar thing like that. You got to look out for it, and I feel it brings a lot to the fight. When in a Metroid game, most of the thing is just like shoot. Same thing with like Mega Man, shoot your special stuff, shoot your missile, shoot this, shoot that. But they actually have something in here, which I hope in the next Mega Man game that they add that there's these really cool cinematic things that you can initiate in the midst of the fight that kind of add a little bit more spice to the experience of, you know, with the upgraded graphics, the better system on the Switch and stuff like that. I think that's something that definitely should be added to more games, just to add more spice. I mean, once we saw it in God of War, you know, Kingdom Hearts adapted it in Kingdom Hearts 2. It's just that you add more cinematic, you add more feeling to the fight. And actually, what you don't really get to see there is that he's the one that's shooting. So like when those cutscenes happen, you do have buttons that you're pressing. You're not staring at like, you actually can press buttons and shoot and like do extra damage during that time period. And I think it's amazing when they add that in. Now, boys and girls, it is time to talk about some spoilers. And I really want to just mainly focus this on the actual story aspect of the game. Now, the story aspect of the game is pretty much she's there. As we know, she's there. She's a bounty hunter. She's got some type of phone call. And I'm going to make fun of the game a little bit, is that every every Metroid game, pretty much she ends up on a planet. And we all know that her suit is very always powered up. It's a super suit. It's a super suit. But the weird part is that every Metroid game that I've ever seen, she lands on a planet, loses all her powers, and she's pretty much gaining it back slowly, because that planet for some reason can get her powers back. I kind of don't like that trope. I really wish that there was a one game where she actually has a decent amount of stuff, or maybe she makes a conscious decision not to go into the planet with her old stuff. So I could see how some people might complain, like you're seeing some of the old things again, like, you know, like you're seeing the same power-ups again in another game, and they're just working towards that. I think Devil May Cry and God of War, even though, like, you know, they made reasons why you don't have the same stuff, Devil May Cry is just like he just picks up different weapons, and that's kind of like the allure of it. Like, he keeps getting different weapons. And God of War, usually either he loses his initial starting powers or something like that, but he gains different ones like almost every game. And I think that it would have been cool here to see you know, some different weapons and different stuff. Now, I'm not familiar with the weapons and things like that, but when I was watching Abdallah play, it seemed like he was very aware of what those upgrades were, like what he was getting, the suits and stuff like that. So it means like it wasn't like he was discovering something that he never knew. Like, I know about the morph ball, you know, I know about the morph bomb and stuff like that. So it would have been cool if maybe if they added something completely different. I guess that would be my nitpick, to see something that I never seen Samus do before. Outside of that, like I said, boss fights were really cool. Every single one that I saw, I think was fantastic. The one that I liked the most was definitely the experiment. What the heck is its name? Hold on. Experiment number Z57. That fight was really, really cool. I really like that fight. And of course, the final fight versus Ravenbeak, which actually this whole game, supposedly Samus is like Lord here. And she's Lord here to, I guess, like, I kind of messed that up. I kind of like was trying to grasp that. They were lured there pretty much to get her Metroid DNA out of her. You know, she then starts absorbing so much Metroid DNA that she becomes a Metroid herself, so she becomes what she's been hunting, and then she pretty much kind of gets cleansed at the end. But the person that wants her DNA and all that stuff is someone called Ravenbeak. Now that fight is actually hype. I would definitely, if you don't plan to get the game, maybe just watch someone do that fight. I think that fight is super interesting. It's gonna take you a couple tries because there's a lot of stuff you have to learn to get good into the fight, like to actually learn the fight and win. And I love when a game does that. And then he turns into some big glob, and then she ends up with a mega laser, like it's really weird. And then for some reason she starts to look like some type of insect, like insect Samus. It looked like something like she fused with some type, she definitely fused with an alien, but that's what they're saying, like she's turning into a Metroid. And then for some reason something cleanses her and she's back to normal at the end of the game. And so it's just like a very strange thing. Also, the guy claimed he was her father. Yeah. So it's just a really strange thing, but I do think that as far as like the playthrough, I think it's fantastic. Me, like I said, not knowing, I think some people were saying this is like a sequel to Fusion, Metroid Fusion. I didn't play Fusion, so for me, like just coming in and playing the game and seeing the whole thing expanded, in my opinion, like to see like that she's fighting more like the humanoid, they're not humans, but they're like some creatures that like obviously are fighting the like soldiers, and I love to see that. I think that if they would have left it that she's only fighting purely just aliens all the time, I think that would have been like kind of but I think that her fighting some soldiers that are like stationed or posted on the planet to defend some things, I think that that's pretty cool. I know that some of them were getting possessed by the X. They're on ecstasy. No, but like, you know, that there's a weird thing that's going on there, and I think that the game's worth exploring. As far as my final thoughts, since the game is relatively short, I have to then say you probably don't want to get it at full price. You probably want to wait till it goes down. But then again, we're talking about Nintendo here, so the odds of that happening is going to be for a long time. If you really want to see the game, I would kind of suggest maybe watching it. It's really fun to watch, especially if someone's doing a full 100% playthrough where they get everything in the game, all the power-ups, all the energies, all the everything, so you can get a really good grasp of whether or not you like it or not. But if you're a really big Metroid fan, you probably want to play it yourself. But I feel like for a person like me who's not a huge Metroid fan, if I would have bought this game, I would have enjoyed it, but I don't know if I would have wanted to pay full price for it. The game currently is priced at $59.99, so it's a pretty much full title game, you know, so that's $65 usually with the tax. And I don't know if I want to pay $65 for a, you know, 12-ish hour, you know, game, depending on how fast or slow I am. I think that I would have preferred to be cheaper, but that's just me. That's just me. So I don't want it to be like the game is bad. I don't think the game is bad at all. And I do think that this is a direction that a lot of games are going, and it's the same direction that like Deathloop was. Deathloop is technically a small short game, and you can finish it quickly, but the little nuances kind of make the game last a little bit longer. I can actually go play some Deathloop right now just because I can play as Juliana if I really wanted to, or I can like full out the mystery. Same thing with here, you can blow through the game, or you can just kind of like, you know, get all the 100% stuff, find everything on the map. There's multiple endings, I think, that the game also touts, or there's multiple ending rewards depending on how fast you beat the game or how much. I actually don't know, but like it was like they have like 6 different ending credits rewards or something of that nature. So I think it's probably how fast you beat the game, what level you beat it on, some other probably weird things. I've seen games do that as well, like you get like certain stuff based on how you played the game. You know, maybe if you beat all bosses under a certain period of time, or beat the game, because you, like I said, you could literally, if you know exactly where to go, you can actually fly through the game. I would say that I would love to see some speedrunners play the game to see like how they pretty much map out and navigate and route the entire game, and then just see them just run through everything. Especially the speed booster is probably my favorite upgrade. Like you start running like super fast with Samus, and then you can like jettison yourself upwards or straight, and it's like, whoa, that's some cool effects. But anywho, YFOs in the comment section below, let me know how you feel about Metroid Dread and this exact way of doing the review. Did you guys think I did a good job, especially for a person that technically did not actually play the game but did watch the game? I am going to be doing a couple of reviews like this, so I'm gonna, you know, hopefully you guys understand. I don't make too much money from YouTube to just buy a bunch of games. If I could, I would love to do that. Like if I was at least getting especially when I do a gameplay, if I was getting that money back per game that I bought through all the parts that I was uploading, I would definitely do that. But at the moment, I'm not. So I want to just be safe, start saving money. I do want to buy a condo pretty soon. So I'm going to have to start saving some money. So I can't buy every game. I can't buy every game. I will buy some. The next game that I do plan to buy is going to be Back 4 Blood. That game looks pretty fun. It looks like a pretty cool like co-op game to upload to the channel. But as far as like review, I'm thinking about maybe reviewing in this same method, Stranger's Paradise, which is the Final Fantasy game Chaos. I'm thinking about getting that. And maybe if you guys have any other suggestions, please leave them in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed this video, of course, like, comment, and if you're new, subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate you guys' feedback on this, and I'm really hoping that, you know, we can keep doing this. Not that I want to be a review channel, but I definitely want to review a lot of games. You know, I've always wanted to like throw in my 2 cents when a game comes out. So that's gonna be M.F.O, and now you guys know. And just remember that every day at the Kashino is your lucky day, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.